People think that vibe coding is just prompting and crossing your fingers thinking that everything will be fine. Reality is, it's not that simple. That's why today I'm showing you my full Vibecoding Tech Stack so you can ship production-ready apps that get thousands of users. This setup will help you rock 2026. Without more talk, let's dig in! So go into my setup. As you may see, it's kind of clean. Most of the tools that you see here, you probably know them. In code editors, we can see Cursor and V0. I use two AI editors, and you are probably wondering, why two? I mean, two is better than one, right? Jokes aside, I will explain why I use every tool later on the video. On deployment, I have Vercel and also GitHub. For database, we have Supabase, and for domains, I decided to go with Namecheap. To be honest, you don't need that much tools to actually vibe code an app. Going with the Vercel environment, as I like to call, would be more than enough. When I say Vercel environment, I mean going with V0 that already has Vercel inside of it, it has GitHub inside of it, and also has a Supabase integration. So you have AI editor, you have deployments ready, you have track history, and you also have a database all in one single place. My recommendation is to use the setup that I'm using right now to 10x your skills on 2026. Seeing the image directly, we have our Vibecoding Flow. I usually start with V0 for prototype and for front end. V0 makes one of the best frontends I ever saw. They already have ShadeCN installed, so you can create amazing components in matter of seconds. The best part is that they recently launched an upgrade where you can manually change and custom every single component that you have on ShadeCN. After I have my first MVP, I usually commit to GitHub, so I already have my repo going on. Having my project upload to GitHub means that people, if it's open source, can already start contributing to it. I can also have a track record of what I'm doing, what I'm building, and even roll back a commit that I'm not super happy with. I can also share it with my friends and they can give feedback on it. They can even fork the template. A lot of things can be made with GitHub. After I have my repo uploaded on GitHub, a no-brainer connection would be to actually deploy it on Vercel. Having this on Vercel means it's already deployed and I can test it on the web browser. Usually Vercel gives you a custom domain from Vercel and you can even start hosting it. Now, before entering into the database, I want to explain that there are two possible paths that I usually decide based on mostly vibes. Once you have your app running, you would usually want to start using Auth methods for registration of users. Apart from that, you will need a database to store all the logins or even any data that your app is actually running on. On the past, I usually prefer to start coding on Cursor and then adding a database at the end. Right now, I have to be honest and say that I'm using Supabase integration from V0 to actually have all my database working. It's usually a bit more simpler than actually going to Cursor and start finishing everything. Again, you are the one deciding actually the flow that you are taking. After we integrate the database or the Auth method, we go directly to Cursor. Cursor is used to finish the coding and also the backend. Why I'm using Cursor to finish my app and not finishing everything of V0? As I mentioned, V0 is amazing for front-end development and also works really great for backend development. Truth is, if you want to really scale your app, start collaborating with your team, and actually having a lot of other features available, you will need a stronger AI editor such as Cursor. Cursor right now, I would say, is the most complete AI editor on the whole market. You have Figma integration, you have multiple agents running on parallel, you have a mobile editor, you have different models. It's really complete. Now that we understand our tech stack, it's time to go app by app to review them on deep. Here we are on V0 and I'm going to show why I always start with V0 on my flow. First of all, the cool thing is that we have multiple templates that we can select to start building our app. There's no more build from scratch. Here we have a lot of different templates that we can fork from our community for different use cases. We also have the design option where we can actually select or even create how the palette of colors and also the design system of our app will work. Going into the homepage, what we can see is super similar to ChatGPT. We actually have a chat where we can write, and we have some toggles to select. V0 Pro, Mini and Max are used depending on how much effort we will need for our project. I suggest to always set it on Pro. Then we have toggles to generate image, to select our favorite design system, interactions, and also MCPs. I'm not going to go through MCPs because I think that's a bit more advanced. On the plus, we can even import Figma designs or upload our own folders from our computer. To show how actually the flow works, we are going to build our own app. In this case, I'm going to create an app that tracks jobs for a company, where each user needs to register for the app to post their own job. Everyone can see the different jobs inside the calendar. Super similar to how Trello works. As you can see, because we ask for an Auth method, it's recommending to install Supabase. I'm going to click on install. We were redirected to Supabase, and that's all. The database was created successful. Now we are back to the chat so it can keep building. Still building the app. It could take some minutes, but definitely worth it. Now we have our app ready to go. As you can see here, I can go into the design mode, select all these templates, and play around however I want. So for example, maybe I want the icon with the color, let's see, red. And actually red and blue is not that great. So I'm going to go red and dark. Actually, you know what? I'm super bad for this, so I'm going to just reset this. But I'm a fan of dark mode. I just asked the chat to add a dark mode and also to put an arrow to go back every time that we need. While V0 is making some changes, you can see them here, and also switch to code editor to try to understand everything that is happening. You can go to components, see what's happening in real time, see how the app is coded. Probably if you are Vibecoding, you will never go into this view, but it's always great to learn how your app is actually working. Now that we have our app ready, let's see how GitHub and also Vercel integrations work. We can go to the GitHub icon, select our own repo, that is Juan Fernandez. This is the repository name, jobs tracking, create repo. Now it's going to create our repo. We can set the main as the active branch. All the changes that we made to our app, we can push them into our repo. Pushing the changes will pop our repo. Here we can manage our branch, so we can create new branch to experiment with our own app without breaking the main one. And we can also select if we want to auto commit our changes. Now that we have our app on GitHub, we can publish our own template. We can go to publish, go to production ready because we are on the main branch. Preview is only for when you are on experimental branches. We can even customize our own domain, but I'm just going to publish to production. Now it's running everything into Vercel, so we can finally deploy. Okay, our template is ready. We can click here and go directly to the browser app. And just like this, literally in 2 clicks, we work with GitHub and with Vercel, all from V0. We have finally a production app ready that we can start using. Now let's sign in to test the Supabase integration. Let's go to sign in with magic link, send magic link. Here we have our magic link, so let's log in. Just like that, I'm already logged in and I can add my new job. After I complete my job, let's add it to the calendar. Finally, let me show you how the GitHub works. You can see all the different files, all the contributors, the different things, activities that you have made. You can see all the pull requests there are. If you are collaborating with other people, this is super useful, even though the Vercel bot can make some pull requests. Let me also show you how the Supabase works. Here we are on Supabase and we can see our jobs calendar. Here we have all the information, authentication, storage. We even have the APIs if you want. We have an SQL editor where we can run our own queries. Maybe we can populate our database if we want. We also have a table editor where we have the jobs and the profile. So for example, here I can see all the information from the different users. On the jobs, I can see the jobs that we just created. Database, we can see the schema. This is super useful for visualizing how our database is working. we have everything that the Postgres database needs. As a Vibecoder, you are probably not going to care that much about all this information, but this is super useful when you want to modify manually some specific data. So for example, if I'm testing a database and I want real profiles there, but my app is not being used, I can just run a query here that of course I can ask the AI to run, where I can ask to populate with random entries. If I want to actually edit my table and maybe delete a user that was repeat or there are some bugs there, I can go to the table editor, just click here, and I can delete, copy, or even export my whole database to, I don't know, share it with other people. So far so good. All of this was made with V0, but now it's time to take our app to the next level. So see you right now on Cursor. Once we open the editor, this is the first thing that we see on Cursor. To start working on a repo that we already contributed on the past, we need to clone it. We are going back to our GitHub, as I mentioned earlier, go into code and just copy the URL. After that, just go to clone repo and paste it. And boom, here we are with our repo ready to start working on it. Now, why I say that Cursor unlocks the full potential for coding? Reason is the amount of features that Cursor has. One of my favorites is the type of chats that we can interact with. So for example, if we go to the screen, we have agent mode, we have plan mode, debug mode, and ask mode. The cool thing is that we can have different chats running on parallel with different modes on them. So for example, I'm going to have an ask mode on this chat, and I'm going to generate a new chat where I'm going to have an agent, for example. Now I'm going to use the ask chat. This is super useful for when we want to understand what our app is actually doing. The thing is that we are vibe coding with AI, so most of the code, we really don't understand it. We just literally flow with the vibes. And if we see that something is working, we actually don't care about how it's actually working. The ask mode basically solves it by actually explaining us what is actually happening. This time I asked the chat what this repo is about, so to actually explain me what is happening on the code, and also to point me where in the code are we actually interacting with the Supabase. Here is the answer. As you can see, here it mentions the tech stack that we are using and about the Supabase integration points, the Supabase client setup, it sends the files and also the purpose of them, then where the authentication is happening, again, files and all the methods that we are using, where's the data fetching, and the CRUD operations. Now I created 3 different chats for 3 different use cases that will run on parallel. The first one is on plan mode. I just asked the editor to create a new style for the calendar that follows the advent calendar from Christmas. The other chat is going to run the app locally on localhost. And the last chat that is also on agent mode is going to create a new logo for this app. Let's go and run them all together. As we can see, one agent is creating the plan on this tab and the other one, for example, is installing all the dependencies on the other one. Here, the last agent is creating actually the logo. As you can see, the plan is already done, so I can just click on build or create a new agent if I want a new agent to do all this. I don't need a new agent, so I just will click on build. As you can see, it's going to go through each to do. So for example, it's going to create an advent calendar, then add the CSS, and then a toggle to the calendar page. Now here it opened our localhost, but we are getting an error. So this is a great thing to actually try our debug mode. I'm going to open a new chat and go into debug. I will just copy paste all this error and send it to the debug mode. And since we are vibe coding, Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V is our best friend. Now the debug mode proposes a solution and we are going to proceed to see if it's actually the thing that is causing the problem. It seems that the hypothesis from the debug mode was actually true. We are missing our M local file with all our API keys from Supabase. I just added all the environment variables, and if I go to our localhost, I can start seeing the app. While I'm seeing the app, I can see our first agent that was actually creating the logo. Here is our new logo that was created by them. I can mark this as finished, so I can just close that agent. Now I only have two agents, that is, one is running actually the app on localhost and the other one just created the advent calendar. So let's keep all changes and see how it's working. I see our team calendar as it was before, but if I go to advent, I can actually see on an advent style. That's pretty cool. I can click on different days to see if there is any job, but since we didn't load any of them, there are still no jobs. If I actually don't like this UI, I can just go here on cursor and treat this as if it was a Figma. So for example, maybe this component, I really don't like the way that is showcased. So I don't know, I can remove the border box to make it more sharp. I can reduce opacity here. And maybe the corner radius, I want it to be more like a button. I can change the color to, I don't know, maybe red to the letters. I can do whatever I want. Of course, this is not a good design. I'm not a good designer, but I usually, when vibe code on cursor, I try to manage things on my own because sometimes the AI editor is not as accurate as possible. I mean, it's super hard to actually transmit what we want to change. So doing things manually are usually good for us. And that's all. It's really that simple. Vibe coding with AI may look complicated. It may seem that we really need a lot of things, but actually it's pretty simple. Just look for a good AI editor, create a mix of them as I do with V0 and with Cursor, find the infra that is useful for you. Probably you will also use Supabase, GitHub and Vercel and start building. Hope you enjoyed the video. Ask me any doubts. Follow me on Twitter where I post a lot of content regarding AI and crypto, and see you on the next one.